Yeah, yeah, people deal with them in different ways. Kind of going back to what I was talking about having a hobby that really helps, having a different outlet, another outlet. Uh, After you come back from a really, really stressful place, or if you hit like writer's block, as it were, like suddenly visually you feel like you're on a treadmill, and what I try to do is I try to break out of my comfort zone. If I feel like my photography is starting to become stagnant, that I'm sort of taking the same photograph over and over again stylistically, I just do whatever I can to change that up. And I'll look for inspiration among some of my peers and other photographers. Oftentimes I go back and look at really old photography, Martin Chambi, Cartier-Bresson, of course, Manuel Alvarez Bravo. I go back and look at some of these really beautiful classic images to kind of take me back to a simpler time, but the sophistication of the photograph is everything. And realize like, okay, they were doing this with film, they were coating plates with emulsion, and look at the beautiful work they were making. We can get very lazy in the digital world. We take far too many pictures with digital cameras. Turn your motors off, just shoot single frame. And we tend to get a little bit lazy. So I try to mix it up a bit as far as coming back from a war or a conflict or having seen horrible things. I'm very fortunate in that I have a wonderful wife, and now I have a 1-year-old daughter. And for me, that's become the center of my universe, and that's my world. I grew up surfing, so I grab a board, I go jump in the Pacific Ocean. That's one of the most therapeutic things I know. I can't tell you how wonderful that is to just go surfing with dolphins and all this kind of thing. It sounds hokey, but it's wonderful. I've been a drummer for a long time. I'm feeling frustrated. I go beat on my drum set for a while. That's always fun too. But people have many different ways of dealing with it, and honestly, that's probably a conversation I haven't had enough with other photographers. I haven't talked to them enough about how they deal with it, what their methodology is. For some, it can be destructive. Maybe they crawl up into a booze bottle or something and stay there for a while. Maybe some go into painting or drawing or cinema or video, and then they come back to photography later. For me, there's a couple of painters that I look at their work a lot, and that's Degas and Hopper, who were both wonderful photographers, even though they never took pictures. But for me, they're the greatest photographers ever. I look to them for inspiration. And I do talk to some of my peers, and I talk to a lot that there are certain, like Ron Haviv, who I teach with and is a dear friend and one of the most intelligent photographers I know. And not only that, but one of the best journalists I know. And oftentimes we'll talk about, what are the stories that are going on in the world, what are some of the trends, and his method of thinking about what is going to be important in a story in the long run I'm very envious of his ability to do that. A lot of times we think of the here and now, and what the picture is now, what aesthetically is going to be the best picture, what are the editors going to want for next week's magazine or tomorrow's newspaper or 20 minutes from now on the website. And Ron has a really great ability to think about what's going to be important 20 years from now. Who's going to be important 20 years from now when we look back on it historically. And I think that also, that kind of thinking, changing up that kind of thinking, helps get you out of maybe some creative doldrums, get your brain going, if you're involved in that stagnation, or if you feel traumatized by something, intellectually, you can kind of get yourself out of it and maybe suppress the emotion for a little while. I don't know if that's the best thing to do, and I think as a community, we could definitely talk some more about it.